Okay, in this week's lesson we're going to be learning about crating. Now we need to start with some squared paper that we have here. I've uploaded this to the Google Classroom for you to download. For those of you that are unable to print, I know some of you either don't have access to a printer, or your printer's not working, or you've run out of ink, or whatever reason. If you're not able to print, you can still come up with some squared paper. Quite simply, you can just get yourself some lined paper like this and get yourself a ruler. Every centimetre, make a mark along the top, make a mark along the bottom down here, and then you simply join up your lines across, do the same over there, and you should be left with some squared paper. You can even do it with some lined paper as well. Generally speaking, lined paper is normally every 8mm wide, so if you then measure 8mm along the cross and draw some lines down, you can get some squared paper as well. There's lots of different ways to get squared paper. Obviously the easiest way for you is just to print this off if you're able to. If not, just draw out some of your own squared paper and we can start from here. So from this point here, we're going to be working with, I've uploaded the PowerPoint as well to show you how all the letters go. I've got them printed out here as well to show you. Every single letter is 4 centimeters wide and 5 centimeters deep. Now, I've got the whole set here. I'll use that as a reference point later on. What we want to be able to do on here though is I'm going to start off along the top with a series of squares. I'm going to leave the bottom bit blank. We're going to use that for task 2 in a moment. So along the top there, now obviously on an A4 piece of paper, the most amount of letters I can really fit on there is about 7, but that's going to be fine for what I need to be able to do. So I'm going to start off here. I'm going to get my ruler and just line it up about there, and I'm going to draw a line along the top there. If my ruler is going to play, here we go, like so, and then I'm going to come down, as I said before, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 centimeters down, 1, 2, 3, 4 across. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 centimeters, and I'm going to make another line there as well. And then I need to obviously draw a line down every 4 centimeters. So I'm going to go across here. That's the end of my first cube. I'm just going to start off with big cubes for now. I'll show you what we're going to be doing that in a minute. And then my next one here, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to keep going up every 4 centimeters until I have all of my cubes. Now, you don't have to do 7 letters. I'm just saying that's the maximum you're able to fit on the page. I'm going to be doing my surname, which is Baltoni, which obviously has 7 letters, so I'm going to be doing that. Anything between about 5 to 7 letters should be perfectly fine for what we're doing in this task. If you've only got like 2 or 3 letters in your surname, it's probably not really going to be enough for you to have got a good practice on it. So try and find perhaps a middle name or your first name, something between about 5 to 7 letters. That should be fine. And even do your pet's name or something like that. Right, so as you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 boxes along here because I want to do 7 letters. Every single one is 1, 2, 3, 4 wide and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 deep. Okay, so I've got all them marked out. Now, looking at this as my reference point, I'm going to start off with this. Everything here has an exact set of measurements that it works to. So I'm going to start off with a simple crating method here. Again, I'm starting with my surname, Baltoni, so I'm going to start with the letter B here. I can see here every centimetre there's a gap for the middle bit, a centimetre, another gap, and then it goes along. These go across about a centimetre, then in that one there, about halfway along, they curve round and go down. Same there, curve round and go down. As for the outside, these stay there. There's a curve at the bottom corner and the top corner, and in the middle there it goes in as well. So I'm going to move that out of the way, and I'm going to go through here, start off with what I was doing there. So just very lightly in pencil, I'm going to go over those bits there. The nice thing about working with pencil is if I make a mistake, I can rub it out. A general rule, if we're writing, we do it in pen. If we're drawing, we do it in pencil. About halfway for both of those bits there. As I said before, I want to curve there and there. Now you notice I'm doing everything freehand here. I'm not too worried about getting my ruler out at this point. I've got the grid to help me, and the curves I'm doing roughly by eye, which should help me here. And even though they won't be perfectly spot on from each other, that is close enough. Again, that bottom corner, I want it to curve up as well. I'm going to do the same with the top corner as well there. And then this bit here, it curved a little bit away into the middle, there and there, about that. And then, if you can see, I've got my first letter there. I'm just going to go around the edges a little bit more to make them a little bit more obvious. As you can see, I've got my first letter there, done. So I can compare it to that one there. Yep, that's about the same. I'm happy with that. So I can start on my next letter now. That was the O. I've got curves on all four corners. On the inside, it's all a centimetre in, 1 square in. Curves on the middle bits. This one seems a lot simpler and quicker to do. So I can just quite simply curve that one out there. I can do the same here. Curve this one. And curve there. And curve there. Again, connect them all together. Notice I'm just going very lightly with pencil. I'm not too worried about putting more than one line on there. I can go over it with a pen later on if I want to get it nice and bold. Do the same here, then bits there as well. There was a little curve here and a little curve there. And again, if I'm not too sure how the letter should look, I can keep checking against my guide there. Yep, that's fine, I'm happy with that. And again, once I'm happy, you notice there's a few lines there that I'm not going to use, but I can go over it later on with pen. I can lightly rub out the pencil and then I can go through that. So yep, I've got my first two letters there. I'm going to go on to the R now. So it gets a little bit more tricky with letters like R's and P's and Q's. You'll notice they're a little bit more tricky, especially X's and Y's. They're quite difficult as well, M's and W's. So R's one of the tricky ones. I'm going to look very carefully here. The bottom bit goes up 2 centimeters. So I'm going to go up 2 centimeters there. Right, the R comes down diagonally across 2 squares, just like that. So I can watch there, up 2, and then straight across, diagonal, both of those there. It goes across the bottom 1 square, and then again diagonally up 2 to there. That's the bottom of the R. Now we're getting to the top part of the R. If you look at the top part of the R, it's almost exactly like a B there. So again, I can do exactly what I did on the B there. Now I'm just showing you the letters that I'm doing in my own name. You don't have to do, well please don't all sit there writing my name out. Please do your own names or something else. Surname, first name, middle name. Anything that fits a good number of letters. Now if you look here, the R, got both of them lined up quite well. Now with letters like things like T's, and you'll get this as well with things like the I's as well, you've got a scenario where we're going between some lines on the grid there. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is, obviously I've only got 4 squares across, but I want to have my T in the middle there. So halfway into each one of these squares here, I'm going to use my ruler for this point here. I'm going to draw a line straight up to that top bit there, and the same here as well. And then I can just go over that a little bit neater. T is actually really quite simple other than that. It's just 2 lines straight across, top and bottom, and there we go. There, right, so I'm almost there. Bought. Let's add the 1. Right, there we go. 0 again, an O, not a 0. I'll rush through this one because you've already seen me do one of these. That's a terrible curve. It's alright though. If you make a mistake, you can go over it, you can rub it out. Don't worry about it. Just so I did a horrific curve there at the bottom there, but that was alright. I corrected it, I went over it. I'll rub bits out later. No need to get stressed about making mistakes. Right, and admittedly I'm rushing a little bit here on this one so I can show you the other ones. The end's a bit tricky, and I'll show you that one because that's the next letter coming up that I need to deal with. Again, some of these letters are quicker and easier than others. That's just how the letters go. So again, we've done that one there. The next letter I'm going to be dealing with is the N. Now you can see here, similar to when we was working with the R, we've got some diagonal lines here. This time though, it goes up 3, but then goes down 2. So it's not quite perfectly diagonal from corner to corner. It cuts a little bit across here. So I'm going to start off with the 2 easy bits on the N. Up 3 there and down 3 over here. Now I'm going to deal with our diagonal. So I'm going to use the ruler here again because I want to go from here up to there. Don't do the common mistake. Most people will go straight to the corner, which doesn't leave them any space. You want a square back in. So 1 there, and then straight up to the N, that one there. And then 1 across there again, and then straight up to there. Again, if you're not 100% sure, always refer to the example I've uploaded on the Google Classroom. This is on the slides that you can look at there. All the letters of the alphabet are there as a reference. I can check that according to that one there. Yep, that looks right. If something doesn't look right, I can see what's going on there. But yep, 1 centimeter across. It's going diagonally down, 3 and 2 across. Then everything else is up and round. Finally, oh, and E's one of the simple letters really. Look, we've got 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. A line straight down here and there. And there are 4 lines to join them all up together. And there it is. Right, that's my surname using these as a reference, and that's a very basic terms of what we call obviously creating. So we've used a 4x5 square, we've used the letters that you've got down here to make your own surname, something like that. And that's task 1. Now you'll notice if you look in your books, task 2, we take this a little bit further. So once you've practiced this and got this down quite well and you feel comfortable on this, you can now start to kind of look at these letters and say, actually, I want to stylize them and make them something of my own. So you can now come up with your own style. So just kind of, here's, to keep this video short, here's one I did earlier. So you can see the original creating method that I did there. I did the same thing, 4 across, 5 down, and I started to come up with my own style of letters. I've done this kind of weird graffiti style thing. Again, you don't have to do something like this. You can do something whatever you want to, but come up with your own stylized typeface, give it its own shape. Try and keep to the general constraints of the sizes of those squares there. So as you can see, the 4x5. Now some of the letters have gone slightly over. That's not too bad. I've generally kept to the proportions as best as I can so they can kind of fit into this same method of creating, but come up with my own style of those letters. That's then task number 2, and the second part on that page. If you look at page number, I think, well, it's lesson number 2 in your books, which I believe is page number, let me just have a look here. It doesn't say on my, oh, page number 4, here we go. So lesson number 2, page number 4, where it says obviously planning and creating. Task number 1 is to create this top part here, and then task number 2 is to create your own one. Once you've done these, if you've got one of the booklets from before we broke up, you can go ahead and trim those down nice and neatly and stick them neatly into your book. If it's quite long like this, again, you might need to obviously trim it down and just put a neat fold on it so we can fold it open and have a look and see how it goes. Again, if you have one of the digital copies, you can perhaps obviously just keep a hold of this, take a photograph of your final page and then upload it to me on the Google Classroom so I can have a look. But most importantly, make sure these are put into your books. Okay, if you've got one that you collected beforehand, then go ahead and stick it in. If you've only got a digital copy to work from, as long as you keep this safe, put your name on it and upload a photograph of this for me, I can see you've completed task number 1 and task number 2. I hope that's clear, and have fun with this week's lesson. This is actually a really good one, and we're going to go over a little bit further next week and start doing some 3D letters. Okay.